How's it going, guys? Howdy Nation here, back again with another video, and today I'm going to be showing you guys the best settings for Apex Legends. What you guys want to see is the best settings you guys can get for, like semi-competitive and maybe to boost up your FPS, depending, because either one, competitively you want to have higher FPS, and if you're on a budget you also want to have high FPS. So first of all, we'll start off the gameplay. Gameplay you can leave alone. That's all personal settings, it's just basically how it looks. But for the keyboard and mouse, the first thing you're going to want to do is turn this mouse acceleration off, just because if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically, let's say if I'm moving my mouse, I don't know, like 5 miles per hour. Well, we'll say 1 mile per hour. Let's say I'm moving my mouse 1 mile per hour. The computer's going to try to accelerate it to maybe like 3 miles per hour. This is just like an example. Obviously, we're not going miles per hour, but that's what it's going to basically do. It's going to mess you up like that. So you always want to have that off in basically any game. And then mouse invert, it just basically switches it from looking up. If you scroll up, you look down and stuff like that, so have that off as well. And then for mouse sensitivity, that's all personal preference. I like to keep it on low, especially since my mouse has a ADS button where you can change the sensitivity on the mouse, so I just leave that how it's been in the regular. And then the rest of this is just a bunch of keybinds, which is all personal preference as well, so whatever you prefer you can leave right there. Controller, I don't use controller, but that's also the same. It's more likely personal preference. But then for the video part of this, where you can actually boost your FPS, is right here. So go to video, display mode. You always want to keep this on full screen, just because it makes the game not only look a lot better because it's covering the whole screen, it also makes it a lot easier for the game to render. So it boosts your FPS up. And then we want to keep this native 16:9. Resolution as well, 1920 by 1080, especially if you have a 1920 by 1080 monitor. If you have a really budget PC, you might want to lower it down to 1280 by 720, but since I have an alright computer, I can keep it right here. And then field of view, this is basically how zoomed in you are to the game. So above 90, you guys can see right there on the right, it says may impact performance and cause visual issues. So you might want to keep this 100 and plus, unless you want to be more competitive and get a bigger field of view so you can see more around you. However, this is a first person game, so you can't really peek around corners, I guess, like you can in a third person game like Fortnite. Color blind mode, you can keep that off. And then VSync, you want to have this for sure off in every single game, because it basically lowers down your FPS so you don't get tearing. It's called quote unquote tearing, but you always want to have this off, just because this is what really slows down your FPS. And then adaptive resolution, if you have a budget computer as well, you might want to keep this on 30 to around 60, just because it will keep your FPS right there and it will adjust itself basically. So it reaches this goal of, let's say, 58 FPS, it will automatically adjust itself, especially if you have a budget PC. However, I have an alright PC, so we're gonna keep it on 0. And anti-aliasing, we can leave it on TSAA. Texture stream budget, mine automatically came on very high. However, you can lower it down. I don't really see a difference in this. However, if you do know your RAM for your graphics card, let's say if you have a 2GB card or a 6GB card like I do, you might want to match it up with that, but I haven't seen any real differences with this, so I just left it alone. And then for texture filtering, I have it on 16x. However, you want to keep this down to bilinear. And then we got ambient occlusion quality. If you want to make the game look really good, you can keep it on high, but if you don't really care about it, you might want to keep this on disabled, just because it makes the game run a lot smoother. And then we got sun shadow details. Again, it's going to make your game look a lot better, but it also eats up a lot of your graphics card power, you know. So you might want to keep that on low. So if you guys like, let's say you click apply and you go back and you look at your character and you don't like how they look, like right now it doesn't really look as good as it did in the beginning, but it actually doesn't look that bad from what it did from the beginning. And then for the last few things, we got volumetric lighting. We can disable that. Dynamic spot shadows, disable that. Model detailing, effects detailing, impact marks, and ragdolls. We can actually keep these on medium and low. Yeah, medium and low. Just because, you know, it's gonna be for the model. You don't want to have the model looking really ugly, because let's see how it looks. You can start seeing like the choppiness around the model. So you might want to keep that on high or medium, especially since it doesn't really take that much memory. I'm gonna personally keep it on high just because it makes it look slightly better in my opinion. However, if you guys don't see any differences with these, like for example, I don't see any differences. I don't see a difference when I switch the sun shadows or the dynamic spot shadows. You might as well keep them on disabled, just because if you don't see a difference, you might as well keep it off and let your GPU pump out more frames, just because you're not using it. And it's like I said, if you don't notice it, you can turn it off. But all these settings I've told you guys so far won't make the game look like complete trash, and it for sure will give you an FPS. So that's pretty much it. You can still adjust. You don't have to follow this exact guide. This is just like an overall thing. For a lot of you guys may have different PCs, like really low budget PCs, so you might want to turn all this stuff on low. Or if you have a pretty good PC, you might want to keep some of this stuff on high or medium, you know. It all depends on what type of PC you have. So make sure to basically play around with the settings, but follow the main ones I told you to keep off, such as the VSync. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys liked the video. Like, comment, subscribe for more awesome content. For me, How To Nation, and until next time, How To Nation out.